We will get started. We have Duhai and Cing Ngaih Lian presenting about the phonological word in Tiddim Chin. And it looks like a new title, so.
Okay. Everyone, I'm Duhai from the University of Tokyo, Japan. And I have a co-writer, Cing Ngaih Lian, who is the native speaker of this language I'm doing research on. But unfortunately, she cannot participate in this conference. So if you have any questions, please ask me or contact us through the emails. Also, this is my first time to participate in this conference. Okay, so the title of this study is The Recognition of Phonological Words in Tiddim Chin. And I am going to propose three criteria to recognize phonological words in Tiddim Chin. And firstly, I will give you a short introduction of this research. The theme of this research is about the definition of words. And there are many discussions on the definition of words. One of the approaches is called the word bisection method, which is to divide words into phonological words and grammatical words. And this research will focus on phonological words. It's a phonological unit larger than the syllable or foot, and it's also a part of the practice of the recognition of words. And another concept is called a grammatical word. It is a unit which may have as its base one or more lexical roots to which morphological process have applied. It can be lexical based and non-lexical. And identifying phonological words is important to linguistics because of two reasons. The first one is that the criteria for recognizing phonological words may vary across languages. For example, in English, if you say blackbird, which has a primary stress on the first syllable, it refers to a specific kind of bird. But if you say blackbird, which has two primary stress, it refers to all the birds that are black because they are two different phonological words. And in Japanese, we have pitch accent to distinguish phonological words. For example, tora no mon. Tora no mon is a proper noun, refers to a specific space or station. And if you say tora no mon, which has a pitch nuclear on the word mon, it means tiger's gate. And the second reason is that in some languages, the ranges of phonological words and grammatical words may not always coincide. As you can see in the diagram, there are cases like the grammatical word consists of a whole number of phonological words, and the phonological word consists of a whole number of grammatical words. And in some rare cases, like Fiji, which is Australasia language, I think, grammatical word consists of one and a bit phonological words. As you can see, the phonological words and grammatical words really different in range and across languages. This research will focus on Tiddim Chin, a Tibeto-Burman language mainly spoken in Myanmar and India. And Tiddim Chin has syllable tones and some phonological rules. However, it does not have some features that we usually use to define phonological words. For example, as I mentioned, Tiddim Chin does not have stress accent as in English, and it doesn't have pitch accent as in Japanese. Tiddim Chin does not have prosodic features like nasalization, retroflexion, and vowel harmony. Tiddim Chin does not have some segmental features in internal syllabic, moraic, and segmental structure. So this research will provide an example of defining phonological words without those phonological features about especially pitch accent and stress accent. And this research will propose three criteria for recognizing phonological words in Tiddim Chin. They are lightened syllable, tone sandy, and the impossibility of inserting pause. And according to this criteria, we can find out some gaps between phonological words and the grammatical words in Tiddim Chin. And this is the structure of this presentation. I gave a short introduction of this study, and I will provide you some background information about Tiddim Chin. And I will introduce the method of this study and what we found, and finally give some implication and conclude this presentation. Okay, so firstly, there are some background information about Tiddim Chin. It is a typical Burman language mainly spoken in Myanmar and India, and it has 411,000 speakers. Tiddim Chin has 3 distinctive syllable tones. I mark them as 1, 2, 3. The first, the tone 1, is a rising tone, such as in and if it's a short vowel closed by a stop, it will be a high level tone, like up. And tone 2 is a middle level tone, like up. And tone 3 is a falling tone, as in And if it's a short vowel closed by a stop, it will be up. And most of the words in Tiddim Chin are monosyllabic, such as sa, sing, lam, ro, mid, eyes. And there are also some disyllabic words like puswa, go out, low bar, grass. Most of the verbs have 2 stems, which are referred to as form 1 and form 2. It's difficult to conclude when to use form 1 or when to use form 2, but generally form 1 occurs in conclusive clauses, and form 2 occurs in marked clauses such as certain transitive or subordinate clauses. And there are also some phonological difference between form 1 and form 2. For example, to eat, its form 1 is ne, and its form 2 is neck. And to go, its form 1 is by, and its form 2 is by. So the tone changed. And here is the method we're using in this study. We are focusing on some noun-verb NV construction pairs which share similar phonological realization. For example, 美呼 could mean to smoke or fire smoke. And we have kosat, which means making a village, and kwasat is to make a village. And we have zadeb, which is the action of smoking, and zadeb is to have a smoke. So grammatically, the former examples, mei, fu, kosat, zadeb, can be interpreted as nouns. And the later examples, mei, fu, hua, sad, zadeb, can be interpreted as verbal phrases. So because a grammatical word usually coincide with a phonological word, it can be assumed that by observing the construction pairs, we can know the properties of the phonological words. Because the construction pair consists of a noun and a verbal phrase, so we can assume that the noun corresponds with the phonological words. And we tested the phonological difference between these pairs with the helping from our co-writer. And here's what we found. We can recognize phonological words by using these 3 criteria. The first one is lightened syllable, the second one is tone sandy, and the third one is the impossibility of inserting pause. And in addition, we can also find out some gaps between phonological words and grammatical words in Tiddim Chin. And I will introduce these 3 criteria one by one. The first one is lightened syllable. When a compound is formed, the long vowel in the first open syllable will be shortened, and the open diphthong wa or ya will be alternated with monophthong or e. For example, we have head, foot, and bag, flat. So we get a compound soul, Quebec. And as you can see, the long vowel in the in food, the long vowel A in food is shortened into E in salt. And the second example is the bamboo shoots. So we have Hua bamboo, Duhai child, and we have Duhai, which means bamboo shoot. And you can see the diphthong in bamboo, Hua is alternated into O in bamboo shoot, Duhai. And also the tone is changed. We can also test these examples in sentences. For example, I smoke tobacco. Gen za dep. This is the example of the verbal phrase. But if you form a compound by za and dep, you got the dep, smoking. And in sentence, it will be gen za dep ban. So you can see the long vowel in tobacco, za, is shortened into za. And also, the next example, I built a village. Gen hua ca. It's a diphthong in village hua. But if you say I began to build a village, you can say gen kosa kibai. And in this case, the diphthong y is changed into a monophthong o. The second property of the compound is tone sandy. So when forming a compound, the tone of the first syllable changes to tone from tone 2 to tone 1 as when it is open syllable with a long vowel. So for example, we have day, ni, and we have augmentative b. So the week will be ni bi. And we can also test this in sentences. So the sun is strong today, du ni, ni sa. But if you say I saw for the sunshine, gen isa twa. The compound sunshine consists of ni and sa, so it will be nisa, and the tone is changed from tone 2 to tone 1, and also the long vowel is shortened here. And the third property is the impossibility of inserting pause. So pause can be inserted into verbal phrases, but not into the nouns. So we have the example, I fastened my waist. Gen, gong, ga, you can put the pause between them. But if you make a compound by this, by gong and ga, you get gen, gong, ga, ne. This compound means a belt. And you cannot put a pause between them. You cannot say gen, gong, ga, ne. You can only say gen, gong, ga, ne. And the same example is the second one. My pot broken, kapel xia. And if you make a compound by bel xia, you cannot put a pause between them. So you can only say gen, bel xia, ne. So because these phonological properties of the compounds coincide in the same range, they can be claimed as the recognition criteria for the phonological words in Tiddim Chin. I have up these examples already, but as we can see, I began village building. Again, kosa giban. We can observe lightened syllable, tone sandy from 2 to 1, and impossibility of inserting pause in this case. And also, again, isatok is the same. It has a lightened syllable, tone sandy, and the impossibility of inserting pause here. So as the result, we claim that these three properties can be called the recognition criteria of the phonological. And in addition, we can also find out some gaps between phonological words and grammatical words in Tiddim Chin. For example, he knows many things. Aman tu duang duang te. In this case, there are two words here. The first one is from tu, which means things, and duang duang means various. But as you can see, the tu does not have a long vowel, it has a short vowel. So here the first syllable is lightened, but grammatically speaking, there are two words in this, two grammatical words in this sentence in this case. So there is gap between them. And also we can observe the gap in the case of conjunction and particles. For example, if he died, ama sile, we get a syllable here from C to C, and also the tone is changed from tone 2 to tone 1. But if we put a final particle after die C, we get ama si mo. We cannot say ama si mo. We cannot shorten the syllable. We can only pronounce it in a long vowel. So here is also shows the difference between different grammatical words, and its phonological realization is also different. So here's the implication. The case study of Tiddim Chin provides us some hints when we research phonological words within a mainly phonosyllable language without stress accent nor pitch accent. Firstly, the vowel length is distinctive in Tiddim Chin, so it might be some features between phonological word boundaries. Secondly, if a language has a syllable tones, tone sanding may be occur for phonological words. And thirdly, the impossibility of inserting pause might be a useful criteria across linguistically to define phonological words. And here's the conclusion. In this research, I have studied the criteria for recognition of phonological words in Tiddim Chin. They are latent syllable, tone sandy, and the possibility of inserting pause. And according to this criteria, we can find out some gaps between phonological words and grammatical words. And this gap will lead us to further research on the recognition of words in Tiddim Chin. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions?